What's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. Today's post is titled Reality and Mirage. And as it's a dialogue between Matias and his higher self, I'll be referring to Matias as me and his higher self as I am. Me, between the concepts of logic and illogic, then the question arises as to what is real and what is unreal. If the mind is the pulse that creates, and the emotion is the impulse that the mind receives to understand itself through experience, then everything is a reflection. Everything is something mental, something unreal that is not really there. So, what is real? I am. Reality comes from the Latin res, which means thing. Real, then, is the attribute of being a thing, of identifying itself as an object perceptible by all the senses, or at least one of them. Cosa, in Spanish, arises from the word causa, that is to say, source that originates an action. In English, thing comes from physing, which means assembly, where the causes of things are discussed. As you will see, the concept of reality ceases to be something tangible to become a collective convention, an idea generated about a cause. Reality ceases to be tangible to become consensual, which comes from the word consensus, from the Latin, with sensation, with meaning, with sensory capacity. In other words, reality is nothing more than the assembly of different people who analyze the common feelings arising from the same cause. The rule of three. Me, this completely changes what we consider real. I am. Reality is a mirage. When you go through the desert, the heat generated by the energy of sunlight photons is reflected on the crystals and minerals that make up the sand, which reflects the light in different directions, distorting itself in the vapor of the air. Sand is the basis of creating a mirror, so it works in nature itself. The sensation it produces is that of a reflection of the sky flowing in waves like water, creating the perception that there is an oasis. However, no matter how far you walk, you will never reach it. Mirror comes from the word spicio, which means to look at, also from the Latin word which means to admire. Origin of the English word mirror. Thus, mirage is something that you look at and that moves. Ism, movement. Something that is not fixed, that cannot be a target to aim at, nor be objectively perceived. It is not an object. Although the three people see it, the three can also see different things at different distances. Me. But the same thing happens in reality. That is, from the same event, three people can see totally different things. If I put a car in front of you, there is one that will see color, another the model, another the value. And perhaps neither one nor the other sees what the other sees. The same and more complex fact, such as immigration, the economy, abortion, racism, education. It is very difficult for people to agree on something because everyone has their own vision of how things work, what it should be. But even worse than that, the other day I saw someone who had written historical facts to explain why Latin America was so Catholic, explaining the Constantine Agreement in Byzantium to the Jesuit education in the Amerindian colonies, which forced the natives to convert to the option of hell and death. And yet, I saw how many American Catholics said that this data is a lie, unreal, and that whoever explained the historical facts did not really know anything. This worried me because I thought, then how can there be a consensus of what is good for a society if not even historical or scientific facts are taken as objective? Talking about global warming, there are thousands of data that show in the last period the Earth is having a mismatch. The warming is real. But nevertheless, it is also true that the cycles of the Earth, of cooling and heating, are natural. So many cling to that to remove responsibility from the human in their work. It's like very complex. If everything is illusory, if everything starts from a mirage, and the real is a consensus. I am. You can't. Me. I eat. Like this, without more. I am. Yes. Me. But there has to be something that brings us to order. I am. Yes, of course. They are called laws, civil codes, social justice, democratic community consensus. Me, but something else. I don't know. Spiritual? I am. No, there isn't. Me. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I am. Well, I'll try to be more didactic. What is normality? Me. What we interpret as a goal in life, the common, what everyone accepts as logical. I am. Normal comes from the word norm, which means law or rule. The norm is what is established by one group over another group, by collective and cultural consensus, established by moral parameters. Moral comes from the Latin morus, which means custom, which gives rise to the concept of way of living. As in the word dweller, that is, one who usually inhabits a specific space. Morality is linked to a culture that inhabits a specific place and that, based on customs, has established its norms of coexistence to what they have called normality. But normality is different for each territory, according to its customs and geography. For this reason, the more a town grows, creating a kingdom, country, empire, colony, by covering too much territory and too many people, it needs to establish a common norm of coexistence and creates the civil code, the law, and the constitution as ways of establishing that moral normality. Why does he do this? To maintain order amongst so many differences. Reality does not exist outside of perception, since reality is a normative-based consensus. Not even science can tell you what is real and what is not, because everything is always changing from the point of view you see it. From geology, from chemistry, from physics, from quantum, each theoretician or practitioner will reach a consensus with the others and establish the norm. Even so, they know that the laws of physics are only applicable to the macrocosm and not to the microcosm, which is the one who sustains the cosmos. It is illogical, as you will see, that something outside of physics constitutes physics. Thus, physics is nothing more than mere perception. Today, this is called quantum physics, but it is still metaphysical, beyond the physical. Therefore, the reason why each individual is different from each other is because metaphysics needed balance to see a cause and experience it in physics. It is as if the universe were a drunk who walks dizzy and tries to get out of the hangover trying to fix his eyes on an object. Everything moves like a mirage in multiple dimensions, but makes the effort to sharpen the eyes looking at a fixed point, finding balance, and being able to finally unite all the mirages and lateral visions to create a goal. And thus, contemplate the object in front of him. Every living being that is capable of admiring existence is like an eye in this great drunkard that you call the universe, intoxicated with sensations and ideas. They all see something different and try among themselves to seek a consensus that allows them to assemble reality. And they do so through the regulations that they call normality. So you cannot make all people come to reason to accept the vision, because maybe yours is also wrong. Don't waste time trying to change someone's vision. Use your time and energy to empower their vision by expanding it. Me, there's the key to broaden the vision. How? I am. Well, making your point of view useful. Wanting to change the point of view of another person is a fight that will end in defeat on both sides, or in feeding the selfishness of one of the parties that went out of itself to invade the presence of another. The only way to achieve practicality is in practice, in action, in giving the possibility of doing something good with it. We are not in the third dimension to talk about utopias. In the third dimension, we act, do, plan, and manifest. You cannot pretend to change someone's perspective, but you can give them the option to test the usefulness of their point of view. If it's not applicable, if it is not useful to others, if it does not generate a common good, then it ceases to be a consensus and becomes involutional, which sooner or later will disappear by nature. Me, I understand. It makes sense. If what I think is not useful to the world, is not applicable in the practicality of life for other people, or if my action is devastating for the common good, then my point of view is destined to be extinguished. But why, for example, has racism prevailed as a reoccurring idea for thousands of years? Is its practicality a useful idea? Racism comes from the concept of races. The races are native to specific places. When people move from their places to new ones, the locals, historically, interpret this as an invasion of their life, disrupting their normality. Thus, for a local, everything that is external will be abnormal, outside of the norm established in their customs. What is different breaks with normality, attempting to destabilize the group, which causes fear. Attempting to destabilize the group, which causes fear. The fear of the unknown, of what may violate the norm, builds all types of xenophobia, fear of the external, homophobia, fear of the same, heterophobia, fear of the different, misogyny, hatred of women, misandry, I hate men, and so many other relationships of hate and fear are nothing more than the fear of breaking the comfort zone. Me, thus, the real subjective, it's a mirage that depends on the consensus of the eyes that contemplate it. And the greater the capacity of vision, the broader the look, the more options I will see. I am. Reality is objective only when subjectivities have agreed to call it normal. For this reason, life is a game of constant imagination. The greater the imagination, the greater the ability to see new facets of reality. What we sometimes consider a deception, the illusion, is nothing more than the ability to immerse oneself in the game, since its origin is the same as playful, from Latin ludo, game. Playing with others in the subjective to build the objective is to set clear objectives of turning the imagined into action. Me, I am a real mirage, making your idea a game, applied in action. I am. This is where you understand the phrase, you are the creator of your own reality.